here we go. Just a little bit of...
That sounded tasty. That sounded delicious. Give a little crunch to that mic again, Gabe boy.
This episode of the UnSuperDupervised is brought to you by...
That's the name of the brand. That's our sponsor. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever sponsored episode of UnSuperDupervised. It's not really.
It's brought to you by... Wait for it.
Their new brand. What does this new brand sell? What's their product? What are we selling to our viewers today?
Any type of product that you can just write into.
Yeah, I see. I mean, that could apply to a lot of people. You could crunch into a Snickers bar. You could crunch into a little carrot stick.
No. Hey, don't mention any other brands. Come on.
You could crunch into the...
We don't want to get we don't want to lose our sponsor.
Sponsorship. That's true. You could also crunch into the skulls of your enemies. So, I mean, hey, it caters to everyone and everything and every interest.
Now, don't ask me how to spell it.
That would be fun. That would be dumb. But I think just because of how dumb it is, I would subscribe to it. Just a brand called
Yeah.
I don't even know.
As long as you can figure out the what do they call it when you onomatopoeia?
Yeah, the
like
onomatopoeia.
When you spell out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can figure that out, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Smash like for
Smash that crunch button so you could get your discount code off of any crunchy thing you could find.
Or better yet, the like button.
If we yeah, the like button. Crunch that like button, viewers. Anything you could crunch on, we sell it. But what's on the news today? What you been up to, man? You've been uploading a lot of stuff on that little orange channel.
Yeah, I've been pretty good, man. It's the first week in like probably 2 years that I uploaded every day of the week. I mean, not yet technically because we're recording this Thursday, but as long as I get my video tomorrow, you know, I'll feel pretty accomplished.
Are you gonna be able to do it? Are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
Don't make promises.
It's already recorded, so.
Don't make promises.
Streaming has definitely been helping out with getting a lot more content out.
Streamings, those little streams. You're like the Pokemon version of Ninja Tyler Blevins, who has now returned to Twitch. Dude, that's more competition for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty screwed, man.
Oh yeah, he's gonna take all your little Pokemon viewers away.
Actually, though, like Twitch is understandably a lot more competitive than it used to be back when I first started. Like, I think I streamed back in like 2013 when Pokemon X and Y was out. I did like Wi-Fi battles and like Nuzlocke and stuff, and I feel like there weren't nearly as many people, first of all. And
well, yeah, I mean, Twitch was still a pretty much new thing at that point.
But it felt like there were more. I don't know. I guess it's weird. There were the same amount of people, but at the same time, it was less competitive. I don't know.
I guess the viewership was just more evenly distributed.
Yeah, something like that. It's hard to explain, but yeah, that makes sense.
But now you have Twitch celebrities, man. That's where it changed. Now you have Twitch celebrities, and then now they've dominated the market.
That's true. The top people get most of the bulk of the viewers.
Exactly. That's where Twitch has now given into the demon that's capitalism.
But, you know, Twitch actually does something that I think is pretty fair, that if you go to any category of game, they actually, like, the top, unless you sort it by top viewed, obviously, but the default is just, it's a mix. So, like, the number one person won't always be at the top spot when you click a game.
Oh.
So it, like, kind of gives a little chance for, like, smaller streamers to get exposure.
I guess so. I mean, like, it's just, like, I kind of think it's a battle against the people, because no matter... I mean, can we speak honestly? How many people will actually, like, go... They already have their favorite streamer, right? How many people will actually go to a game page and go, like, huh, there's this one guy who's in the front right now. maybe I'll check him out for a second rather than literally just go straight to their go-to guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think it's just like it's all usually comes down to what new games comes out, because I don't know if you've heard of this little game Among Us.
Yes.
That's been popping off recently.
Among Us.
I think it's got like almost 500,000 on Twitch. Let me check what's the top games right now.
That's
Among Us is
crazy.
literally number one. So a week ago, the game didn't even exist, or I guess 2 weeks ago now. But
It existed.
now it's literally the most watched game.
It didn't have multiplayer. I think that's what the situation was. At first, it was literally.
What the heck?
I think it was. If I'm getting my details right, it was like strictly a single player game, and you would play against bots. And only recently
Really?
they added the multiplayer option, and that's why it suddenly.
That seems so
spiked.
boring to play it like single player, though.
Yeah, and that's why I think it wasn't so popular.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. I have like seen the graphics before, unless I'm thinking of like the same company has done games before, because it does. The art style looks very familiar. It looks very like 2000s Flash game.
Yeah, it looks like a Flash game. That's what I thought at first. I started seeing memes about it. And I'm just like, oh, is this just like some really old Flash games that people are like resurging because of some nostalgia thing? And then I
Right.
saw
It looks
that
like
it was a new
Newgrounds
game
for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It looks like a Newgrounds game. So I was like confused, and then I realized that no, it was just like a game that got really popular recently because of the multiplayer. I still haven't played it yet. I've been
neither.
wanting to, meaning to, but I haven't gotten around to it. Apparently, it's like free on phones, but it's also like
Yeah.
cross-platform.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Fucking.
I haven't played it yet either, but it's $5 on Steam, which is not that much either. But you can play it on your phone also.
Yeah, we should play it. Sounds like fun. I mean, I'd like.
I'm down, dude.
If there's anything I like to do is psychologically manipulate my friends. So, I mean,
That's the only problem is you need friends apparently, because from what I've heard, if you play with like anything less than 8 people, it's not as balanced.
I'd imagine it isn't. But is there any way of just like creating like a pre-made? You know, like in any other game, you make like a pre-made group and then go into multiplayer together.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Yeah.
So we could like have 4 people and just hop in with 4 randoms, I guess.
That'd be fun. I'd like to do that.
I'm down to check it out. But yeah, my point was that like that game just started popping off, and I feel like a lot of streamers that weren't that big before are now like this is their chance to like become someone's favorite streamer.
I mean,
you know?
that's usually how it goes, man. It's just like a new thing comes out, and then one person or a handful of people get really lucky, and they become the face of that for a while. And then if they're smart enough, they find a smart way of branching out their brand. Because there's also those situations of people who just like they become the face of a certain thing, and then they never branch out. And then when that thing dies out, so do they.
Oh no. You mean Pokemon's gonna die?
I mean, I don't know, dude. Look how 2020 has been going.
I mean, I guess we could talk about this too, because I feel like the next Pokemon game, like the next generation, because technically the next game might be the Diamond and Pearl remakes that people have been wanting
I heard
forever.
a little rumor that supposedly that's what's next.
Yep. It is the big rumor right now. Like, of course, the Crown Tundra, the second DLC is coming in November, but
Yawn.
next year we'll probably see the announcement of something big.
Do you give a shit about the next DLC? Like outside of your
I give a shit for my
because
job,
you're the
yeah.
Pokemon guy, but I feel like
Exactly.
personally, it's just like, do you really care? Really?
The main part that I'm like excited about is like the raids, because that sounds fun to do with like Twitch chat or like the people that watch it on stream.
I see.
It's basically like, but at the same time, we've done it before. Back in like Sun and Moon, you had
Yeah.
like, it's been part of the Pokemon formula now that the post game is basically just here's all of the legendaries in some really mediocre side quest. So this time the twist is that you can fight them with your friends at least. So that's about the only thing that I guess I'm looking forward to. But the Crown Tundra itself, like the area looks cool, but I feel like that's just how the base game should have been. Just wild
Yeah.
area the whole game.
I feel like both of those DLCs should have been the post game right off the bat.
Yeah.
That-
it would have
then-
been. If this was like back in the day Pokemon, it definitely would have been.
And they would have saved themselves so much grief and bad PR if they did that. Like that, I feel like if that had been part of the post games, like Sword and Shield would have saved themselves from a lot of bad, PR and a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
But
Totally, because
they
it
dropped the ball.
would have fixed the national dex problem. Because even though technically still not every Pokemon is in it, they added a lot more with the DLCs, and it would have also fixed the price point thing because it would have actually been maybe worth the $60, like if it had the DLC already included. But that's not the case, so
Damn.
feels bad. But what I was gonna say is, I think the next generation will kind of be the breaking point for Pokemon. Like, if it's disappointing again, then I feel like the series could actually, like, people might really give up on it. Because a lot of people already have, but they still bought Sword and Shield.
It might do a little Halo. I do a little where people start losing faith. That's something I was going to ask you. Do you feel like it would be a good decision for Game Freak to just come out and say, like, hey, after the Diamond and Pearl remakes, like, let's assume that that's what's next. We're going to take a little break from Pokemon, like a year or two, maybe even 3 before the next game is even announced, let alone worked on. Like, kind of like giving Pokemon fans like kind of like a breather to like kind of reestablish anticipation for the next Pokemon title. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for a while it's just been like pretty much every year or every other year it's like another Pokemon, whether it's mainline or not. I feel like at this point, in order for them not only to like maybe reinvent or add some more new flair to Pokemon, but also I feel like even Pokemon fans are kind of getting tired of the same shit so constantly.
Yeah.
Where I feel like a break or just a little time to just go like, hey, let's give them a little breather so that when the next title comes out, they'll actually be excited because they'll be like, wow, it's been a while since the last game. I'm so excited for a new one. Like, do you feel like that's something that they should try to do, or do you think they're still in an okay spot?
I thought that they should have done that a long time ago, like since X and Y, dude, because I mean, I know that the real, not real, because that seems so like corny to say, like the real Pokemon fans, but like the older fans, they would understand if they took a break to like actually make the next game as good as it can be and not rushed like the last few have felt.
Yeah.
Or incomplete in some cases.
Ever since X and Y, I've kind of felt that. I've kind of felt like it's
X and Y was definitely the turning point. I think almost everyone agrees with that now, because that was the first 3D game, and it, not to say that 3D ruined the franchise, but that's when they like really got lazy with the formula. And by lazy, I don't mean that like their workers are lazy or anything. Like, they're actually being overworked, if anything.
Yeah, for sure.
But they got lazy in their ideas. Like, it's basically just the same game with like a gimmick added onto it. And the gimmick for X and Y was Mega Evolution, which everybody loved. But then they just scrapped it the next game for like the Z moves, which was like not as loved. But
yeah, Z moves
it's basically
are fucking lame,
it's that.
dude.
It's like they keep doing the same thing.
I've never been big into the Z moves. I always thought that was a dumbass move. I was just like, what the hell is this stuff? They replaced like super mega awesome evolutions for like your Pikachu can do a Kamehameha wave now, which sounds epic, but compared to like him having a completely new awesome form is kind of just like feels kind of dumb.
What do you think of the Gigantamaxes?
I think it's stupid. I never liked it. I was just like, okay, so you're just gonna take the same Pokemon and make it bigger. Yeah, some of them have slightly like different designs, but at that point, you might have well just kept Mega Evolutions, because it just seems kind of like it seems like a side grade instead of an upgrade. It seems like we just took Mega Evolutions and kind of like rewrote the concept, but it's still quote unquote the same thing. Just
that basically what you just said describes what Pokemon has been doing. It's always a side grade. It's never an upgrade.
Exactly.
Even though the graphics like supposedly get better, quote unquote, but they're not actually better. Like, you get
it's
like
just more stylized crap.
higher resolution.
You know.
Yeah, you get higher resolution models, but the everything else suffers. Like the animations, bro. The thing that actually pissed me off the most was in the Isle of Armor DLC. I don't know if you know much about it, but they added that the Pokemon can follow you. which is like, you remember from Heart Gold Soul Silver?
Yeah,
that was like
I mean,
the
they
most
already
hyped
did
thing
that
ever.
before, so it's not like it's all that special.
Yeah, but it's something that fans always want because it kind of makes like, you know, the bonding with your Pokemon thing like a lot nicer because you can actually see it walking around with you and stuff. It makes you feel like the one that you like the most really is like your buddy or your partner. And they added that, but the dude lags like 20 feet behind you. Like, it doesn't even follow you properly, bro. The Charizard, you're going to have to find a clip to add it in or something because it's so bad. I'm going to send you a clip, I mean.
All right.
Because Charizard, like, he'll fly for like 2 seconds, and then once he catches up to you, he stops and goes back on the ground, only for you to run away from him again, and then he has to catch up by flying again. It makes no sense, dude.
That's actually really dude, okay. Here's the thing. I feel like I just feel like Game Freak's tackling this all in the wrong way, where they're thinking a whole lot about just like mechanics and gimmicks rather than any kind of reinvention to the brand. I think it's about time Game Freak starts integrating more the connection between you and your Pokemon in a less gimmicky way, because they do all this dumb stuff like, oh, you could go into this little room and you could pet them and feed them treats. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I didn't ask for a Tamagotchi. What you need to do, if you really want me to create a bond between me and my Pokemon, is actually integrate that into the story. Which shouldn't be that difficult because other games have done it. Maybe make it to where, like, oh, your first Pokemon, or like maybe at some point within the game, you, depending on how much you use your Pokemon, or just you make the active choice with a Pokemon you have, like, hey, I want this one to be my special friend. It does like this very like standard way of integrating that Pokemon that you pick into the story, where it creates a more like, oh, I'm actually like within the story of it itself, I'm creating more of like a bond and a more of like an actual in-game interaction with this Pokemon, because then that becomes kind of like a thing that invests you in the game aside from just like the battling and the mechanics. And, you know, I just feel like Pokemon games recently, especially for the older Pokemon fans who are a lot more into things that have like good stories and good narratives and all that stuff, I feel like there's not a lot there for those kinds of fans.
I feel like in terms of that, like, actually, they haven't done it hasn't been a bad job. Well, I guess it has been. It's been a half job. Like, they do good, like, 1 step forward, 2 steps back type of thing. Like, to be honest, I don't think the camp is that bad, but it's like not fleshed out enough.
It's
like,
not
there's literally
enough.
like two things that you can do.
That's what I mean. Like, it feels like what they do is very kind of just like it's slapped on to get like the status quo or like the bare minimum, you know?
Yeah, to like show like, hey, these are the new features for this game. But then when you actually play them, they're literally what was shown in the trailer.
And
like, you always think that a
really
trailer...
fast.
Yeah, the trailer should be like an idea to get people hyped, not literally the whole feature spoiled in the trailer.
And then the other thing, me coming back to the story, it's just like, when's the last time a Pokemon story has actually been all that interesting?
Black and White.
Pretty much.
That's universally agreed upon by the Pokemon fans. And that's why X and Y also, I feel like, was the turning point. Because that's when they, like, really went ham on, like, the whole friendship thing. Like, you had, like, 4 rivals in that game, and they all sucked.
But that's exactly what I mean, man. It seems like they just regurgitate the same formula instead of trying to make any kind of real difference or significance in the story. You know, especially this last one, dude. The Sword and Shield story was... I'm sorry. I thought it was garbage.
I don't think there was a story. Like,
yeah,
I like the fact that they made the gyms feel more like a spectacle, but that's about it. That's the only praise that people give it, and myself included. I don't know.
But that's exactly what I mean, dude. In this kind of like chase that they have of just like making the character, like the player character, a template, so it's easier for everyone to kind of like feel represented within that character. I feel like they've done it the complete wrong way. They've done it in a way where it's so impersonal that you have absolutely no investment and your character feels completely inconsequential to the story.
Yeah, I think in Sword and Shield especially, like, when you get to the climax of the game, the champion or the previous champion before you become champ literally tells you, like, leave this to the adults. Like, they could not have made it more blatantly obvious that they're not trying.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly why I mentioned that idea of just like, oh, you pick a Pokemon.
But I will say, though, I think that in Sword and Shield was the first time where I felt the most, like, satisfied becoming champion, because the whole time they're, like, hamming it up how, like, Leon is undefeated, he's, like, the best champion ever, and then you finally get to fight him, and yeah, he sucks, but you do feel like, because of, like, the arena and, like, the crowds and stuff, it feels like the first time where you becoming champ is, like, a big deal.
Well, yeah, because they made it that big.
That's literally the only thing I can give the game, because that's, like, that was what they focused on.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly why I gave that idea of just like, oh, you pick the Pokemon and it becomes more personal. I feel like Pokemon could do with...
That should be a thing in all of the Pokemon games, basically.
And they should do... They could do with kind of like... Maybe. Radical idea here, especially coming from not that big of a Pokemon fan. Maybe actually make a character. Make you actually play a character. Like, yeah, you could still customize them and make them look how you want, but it wouldn't be bad if, like, maybe... We've had so many games where we have the silent character who has no personality traits and all that stuff. Maybe we could do with one where we have an actual Ash Ketchum or whatever who's an actual character and makes the story a little bit more like, kind of like, oh, this is a Pokemon story rather than a Pokemon
Basically
game.
What you're asking for is like Coliseum or XD. I don't know if you ever played those for the GameCube.
Those games. I loved Coliseum and I loved XD.
Well, and the sad thing is that was developed by Genius Sorority, who actually, I think they work on the new games too, but they don't do the story. Like, I don't know, Pokemon.
Sucks.
Unfortunately, they're so stuck on like their JRPG tropes.
Their formula,
Yeah, they're gonna be like, they're gonna give you the silent protagonist, I think, forever. But I don't know. I would definitely be down, man. I would love to see, even if it was a spin-off. I made a tweet like a while ago, and it popped off, like, just basically saying, make a new Coliseum type of game, and everybody was down for it, dude.
Well, yeah, dude, because it's new, dude. I know that there are some games that the formula is so good and so tried and true that it's hard for the fans to go, like, to want something different. But I feel like the Pokemon fan base has come to a point where they're just like, come on, guys, it's been, like, what? 20 years, maybe more? We can do with a little switch up. You know, it won't hurt. All right.
And you know what's sad? It's like, no shade to any other creature collecting games, but I feel like the bar is set so low now that that's the reason why recently we've been seeing so many other like creature collecting games that are basically, I want to call them like Pokemon clones or Pokemon like games, because they even use the same basic formula of like types and the starters and like the gyms. Well, not all of them have gyms, but some of them. They're using the same tropes, basically, the same, like, formula, but doing it so much better. And it's crazy to me that, like, that's how low the bar is for Pokemon to just try something different, try something new, and it'll probably work.
And this is kind of bringing it to, like, a franchise where I can maybe compare a little bit. Maybe not as much, but Monster Hunter. In Monster Hunter, like, the first Monster Hunter game, story was pretty much just like whatever. It's there because it needs to be there. But the focus was definitely the gameplay and hunting the monsters, you know, the game. And that it was like that for a while. I think the first time you started seeing an inkling where they really wanted to start integrating the story a little bit more was in Monster Hunter Tri. And that was 5 years after the first game. So it's not like they waited even that long. And they had a very tried and true formula, man. They were pretty much on the level of Pokemon where they didn't really have to change much to assure that people would buy the next game. Because that's how big it is in Japan. But they were also just like, oh, we want to make it big in the West too, and people in the West tend to like more story-focused games, so let's start working on that little by little. Obviously, they didn't make the jump immediately. Try, even though it had a lot more story elements, it was just like a little step up. It wasn't even that big. Where they really started going ham with it, I would say, was like with maybe like 4 and 4 Ultimate, when they started adding like cutscenes. And your monster, your hunter would meet the monster, and each monster had their cutscene, and it was really epic and all that.
Oh yeah,
cool.
I think that was one of the first I played. I think the first one I played was on the Wii U, whatever that one was.
That was 3 Ultimate.
Yeah, I liked when they started doing the cutscenes for the monsters, because it makes them feel like, it just like, if you've never played Monster Hunter before, it really like makes you want to hunt that bastard,
And then like they started creating, like, I think in Try they did it with Lagiacrus and Sidious, but 4 and 4 Ultimate was definitely when they started making like one specific monster was the Nemesis, and in 4 Ultimate it was the Gormagala, and the whole game was about this virus that it spreads that makes monsters go into like a frenzied state and makes them deadlier and all that stuff, and then you have to keep fighting it, and then you fight it and you kill it, but then it turns out it's not dead. It actually molts into an even more powerful monster, which is Shigaru Magala, and then you have to beat that. And when you go after him, he's like in this specific arena where his frenzy causes the sky to darken, and there's really epic music. When they started making it like, oh, okay, now it's not just about the game. Now I have like a specific task to take this monster down, and he's been a bastard, and this has been a journey, And that's when like it started getting a lot more popular here, because we saw this game that was already popular and already had a tried and true formula, but they were able to recognize that all good things eventually come to an end, and if you don't reinvent things and if you don't evolve, you'll get left behind. And then that's when they did World. And World was like...
Oh, yeah. World literally took the world by storm.
It is their best-selling game of all time, period.
By far.
Period. It was insane, dude. Me, being a Monster Hunter fan since I was in the 4th grade, since the first game, seeing that happen was like... it was like a surreal experience, man, because I would always talk up to my friends, dude, you gotta check out Monster Hunter, it's so great, and blah, 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 but there was always a barrier of entry. And then...
Yeah, I remember back in high school, you wanted me to play it, like, on the PSP. I never, like, I don't think I ever got it, but I would watch you guys play it, and I was like, it does definitely have a high barrier of entry, I feel.
It has a big learning curve, too. But it's just like, and then seeing that...
But World made it, I feel like, more accessible to the newbies, but also good for the longtime fans.
Yeah, because it did a lot of things where, like, there's a divide. Or at least when World first came out, there was a bigger divide. Now it's a lot shorter between, like, fans of the old games and fans of World. Where, when you have a fandom of anything, you're always going to have the elitists and the gatekeepers. Yeah. They always exist, no matter what. Mm-hmm. So, there's a fan of the old games who just like, no, the old game having...
The Gen 1ers definitely still exist.
The old games, all their weird, like, their shitty UIs and the meticulous grinding process and all that stuff, it added to its charm and it's added to its difficulty. Whereas, that could be a valid statement. But Capcom themselves and most fans agree that there were things about those old games that were needlessly tedious. Like the fact that your whetstone to sharpen your weapons were limited. And that you had to have paintballs to track the monster and all that stuff. All of the resources you collected in the missions all went into the same bag. So like whenever...
So they just slowly like would update the systems over time. Quality of life changes.
Quality of life is what you call them. Quality of life updates. Where now in World... You don't really need paintballs because if you actually dedicate yourself to hunting the monster and gathering their tracks, your little light bugs that track the monster learn their scent, so that slowly, once you hunt a monster enough and research enough into it, in the future, now when you go on quests, your light bugs are able to immediately track it and know where it is from the start.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I know. Like I said, I played some of the old Monster Hunters, but I could never like really get into it. But World was like the one that I played the most of, even though I still didn't. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, you beat the base game with me.
Yeah. Monster Hunter is just not like, I guess, I'll never be like a super fan, but that's not because of the game or anything. It's just me.
Yeah.
But World was definitely the one that I was able to actually like invest some time and beat the game.
For sure, and I think it's exactly.
And I think it's because of that. All that you said.
All
yeah.
the quality of life changes. Like now, whetstones are infinite, so you never run out of having to sharpen
I found it
weapon.
so tedious in the older games,
Yeah.
but now it's just like. It's just so much more streamlined, I guess. Like
And-
the quality
and-
of life changes made it so much better.
And when you think about them, it's very smart too. The one that most people go to is the potions. Back in the old games, you used to just like pop it in your mouth, and then you were locked in an animation where your character would have to like flex and show off that they healed.
I know, it was very
It was
clunky.
very weird. And since you were in that dangerous spot, back in the old games, you remember that the areas were like divided between loading screens. So
Yeah.
what people used to do is if they had to heal, they would leave the area, pop the potion, and come back in. You know, now since the areas aren't divided by load screens, you can't. It's not that easy to escape from monsters. There's still ways to do it, but it's not that easy. So what they did instead is, instead of making it where you pop it in your mouth and do the flex animation, you can move around while you drink it. So they made the animation to drink it longer, but the fact that you can move around and still evade the monster while you did it still balances it out. So, you know...
Which is really similar to Dark Souls, too. That's how the Estus Flask used to be.
And it just goes to show that even though there are things that are tied to nostalgia and people kind of like associate with the brand, it doesn't mean that it is like untouchable.
There's not room for evolution.
Exactly, and that it's untouchable. And I feel like that's something that Pokemon should start really looking into. You know, they should really start prioritizing, all right, what is it that really defines Pokemon that we really can't touch or change too much, but what are we willing to sacrifice in order to
Well, I think the
improve
battling
on?
system doesn't, like, they shouldn't change the battling system entirely,
Exactly.
but there are ways that they can make it feel more engaging and more dynamic. Like, for example, instead of having PP on moves, which... I mean, I guess that would be changing too much at that point for competitive battling and stuff, but it's not like you really ever run out of PP in the games or in the competitive battling.
Exactly.
So maybe something like a stamina system for your Pokemon would be cool, you know? That's just an idea that I feel like that's the reason why things like Temtem and recently Nexomon I've been playing a lot more of. The main difference I can see that they have is that, like, they added stamina and just it makes the battles feel so much like more... Like, there's actually a danger to them, you know?
Yeah, and like, even like an idea that I got, obviously I'm not a game designer, I wouldn't know how to implement this properly, but an idea of just like, oh, maybe when you're down to your last Pokemon, there's like a little fucking boost system that gives them like a little extra buff or a little extra thing that makes it a little stronger, so it's not always a situation where if you're down to your last Pokemon, you're pretty much fucked. And you know,
Yeah.
and when it is like down to like 1v1 the last Pokemon, it makes it an even more like, you know, at the edge of your seat kind of dynamic. You know, there's a lot of things you could experiment is what I'm trying to get at. And for how long Pokemon has been around and how much they've been recycling that formula, I really feel like they've been a little bit lazy with it. And people are starting to realize that. Even the longtime fans, they're starting to realize that these guys are doing the bare minimum because they know that the bare minimum has worked for a long time. But I feel like it's finally reaching a turning point where the bare minimum might not work as good as it used to anymore.
Not totally agree, dude. The only problem is, as you mentioned earlier with Monster Hunter, World was like their top seller, period. Well, Sword and Shield was also the top-selling Pokemon
and
game.
it's so sad, dude. It's like the fan base screws themselves over.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's sad, dude, because even with Sun and Moon, I felt like... I don't know, dude. I always buy both copies, you know, because it's my job to, like, review and, like, play through them and stuff. But even with Sun and Moon, I think I bought multiple copies to give away. This time around, I only bought my 2, but somehow it still became the most sold game.
Oh, Christ almighty. It's like an addiction for you people.
Yeah.
It's like you guys can't stop yourselves.
We can't stop, dude. It's like gambling. It really is a gamble every freaking generation.
Oh, know. I mean, you gotta start getting into boycotting. I mean, here's an example, dude. The Mulan movie came out recently.
Okay, I knew we were gonna get into this eventually.
I haven't seen it. I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to waste a Disney Plus subscription because there's not really anything on Disney Plus I care to watch. Second of all, I don't want to waste $30 on top of that Disney Plus subscription to watch this movie.
I think that's the real spit in the face.
Yep.
Like
especially
Plus,
dude, after they announced that it's gonna be free in December anyway.
Yep. So just in case you were curious about the Mulan movie, just wait till December. Like, even if you want to watch it to see how horrible it actually is, because I have seen it.
Oh,
I didn't pay the $30.
Oh,
I'll tell you that. F you, Disney.
No, don't say that. We won't get fucking sponsored.
Not getting sponsored by fucking Disney,
We
dude.
won't get
Don't worry
sponsored
about it.
by Marvel's Avengers, another fucking piece of shit product that came out.
Oh my god.
But we'll get to that after Mulan.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much Disney Plus is, but the point is that on top of that subscription, you have to pay an extra $30 to watch Mulan as like what they call a pre-screening or something like that. Like you get it early.
Yeah.
Early access. But in December, it'll be available to anyone that has Disney Plus. So if you really, really want to watch the movie for some reason, you want to have your eyes burned with a magnifying glass,
Oh, wow.
just wait till December. All right?
Listen, man.
That's my recommendation.
I haven't seen the movie. I've seen clips, and I've read spoiler reviews, because honestly, I don't give a shit about spoilers for that movie.
I mean, it's the movie, the story of Mulan is like thousands of years old.
But hearing and seeing the things I've seen, I was taken aback. Because the advertising for this movie is just like, no, it's going to be a very realistic take, true to the original story, and it couldn't have been further from the fucking truth. I could not believe the shit that they fucking did with this movie. And okay, listen, if anybody here cares about spoilers for this movie, from this point, I'm going to count to 3. Once I hit 3, spoilers are going to start. So if you care, I guess you could click out, and then I'll put like a timestamp of when we stop. But it's not really going to be all that long. And honestly, you shouldn't care. Spoilers aren't very important to this movie because it's a really old story. Everybody knows what happens in Mulan, and it really doesn't change the formula at all. So if you've seen the original animated one, you've seen this one. It just has some very slight differences. So I don't think spoilers matter. But spoilers starting 1, 2, 3. God, spoilers now. Get out of here!
And the differences all are worse, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much. Bro, what the fuck? Why did they give them superpowers? Why?
So
why the fuck did they?
Okay, hold on. I have a question for you.
Magic. Yeah, what is it? What is it? What could you possibly ask for me?
Do you remember a Disney Channel original movie called Wendy Wu?
That's pretty much what it is. It's Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior.
It's freaking Ben Brenda's song, dude.
I couldn't believe it, man, when they started going into that chi shit. Only men have been able to use chi, but Mulan can secretly use chi, thus taking away the whole underdog working hard to get what you need to do story. No, we just made her now special, so she was going to be able to do it anyway.
Oh my god. Like, I don't want to say that
the whole point of Mulan was like going through adversity in a world in a situation that's stacked against you.
Exactly.
And they give her fucking superpowers.
I don't know if it takes away from like the woman empowerment story necessarily, because she's still like a powerful female in the movie, but it does take away the underdog thing, which I think is what a lot of like people that liked Mulan related to, was like she was really like inferior to all, like literally they're like buff ass giant men in the army.
And I mean, beforehand she was never trained to fight. She was only ever forced into the position of like the wife and the maiden, and for her, from her own grit and determination, made herself better and proved
Yeah,
herself.
like she had to
that
train
could.
extra harder than everyone else to make it.
You
That
know,
was like the whole point.
but then in
with
this
like the
one-
scene where she climbs the pole.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they don't have that shit in it anymore either.
It's just like, that's the whole reason why I loved Mulan is one of my favorite Disney movies. It's there with Hercules and with Tarzan. Those are like my top 3. And Mulan is like number 1. I've always loved Mulan growing up, and it was exactly because of that. Because when I was a kid, yes, I'm not a girl, but when I was a kid, I was always like the short kid, and I was scrawny and all that stuff, and there was always a lot of people who were better than me at sports or at racing and all that stuff. So I definitely subscribe to that idea that, sometimes you just because of the way you're born, the odds are stacked against you. But if you just fucking do it and go at it, you could still become someone great. And that went even more so for women, because it shows that, it sucks that just because of how you were born, you have all these things working against you. But
Yeah.
all of those things are just constructs made by people, and it is in no way determinate of what your abilities can be. And as long as you work towards it and fight against it, you will find a place, and you'll prove that wrong. But I feel like
I felt it was always a story like, even though you have to work harder than most people, you can still achieve like what you want.
Yeah.
And that was like the original story. But now it's more like you can achieve what you want as long as you're born with superpowers.
It was basically Chinese Harry Potter. It was just like, she just so happens to be the one chick who could also use chi, so she pretty much already has like a bonus, to get ahead. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I feel like it really minimizes the original intention of the story, And
I think like at some points in the movie too, they kind of like relied on you knowing the story of Mulan already too, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you're gonna remake something, shouldn't it be for like people that, like the newer generation that hasn't experienced it yet? But like some things just didn't make sense. Like, I don't know,
was
dude.
just
It definitely
strange,
just feels like
dude.
some Deus Ex Machina type
it was
of shit.
some
Like she's
X-Men
just
type bullshit, and I wasn't having any of it. As soon as they mentioned chi, I said, okay, I'm done with this. This is as far as this goes, and it has nothing.
Well,
to
if you ever
do,
get
dude.
around to watching it, you'll feel that way. As soon as the movie opens, you'll already be like, yeah, I'm done with this shit.
Dude, because it's not even like there's still those people who are just like, no, they took out Mushu and the cricket and Shen and whatever. Doesn't matter. All right? I don't need another one-to-one remake. Lion King did that and it fucking sucked. I don't need that. What I need is that it still pertains to the original essence of the story, and I feel like this movie did not do that. It did the exact opposite.
No.
It wasn't even
It
true
ruined
to
the
the
original
original
story to me,
like they
man.
were saying, dude. Like the original Chinese parable, it's not even true to that. And Chinese people have been calling them out on it. They've been saying like, whoa, you motherfuckers said it was going to be like this. This is not how it was, and it's fucking dumb. They need to stop.
Do you know if Mulan is supposed to have chi in the original?
Of course not. She doesn't have any fucking stupid superpowers. She's not able to... Bro, can we talk about the scene where fucking Jet Li throws up the arrow and she kicks it into the bad guy? What the fuck was that? Just shoot the guy. Just use the bow you have. Shoot the guy. We don't need none of that shit. That was the dumbest thing I heard.
No, it's because the Phoenix flew by and it gave her the strength
Yeah,
to
fuck
do
that.
it.
Whatever.
Which, by the way, that's the thing that probably pissed me off the most in the movie, aside from the weird editing, which is also like, I guess we'll talk about that first because it's shorter, but it was like this weird mix of like the old school Chinese kung fu movies with like the really badly overdone Zack Snyder slow-mo superhero.
Oh, yeah.
So it just ends up looking really bad. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
It's like they had two different editors. Like,
yeah, it's like they had two conflicting ideas. Like, okay, we want to make Mulan like a superhero, but we want to like have that look of the old Chinese kung fu movies, and it just doesn't work for me, at least.
Yeah.
It looked really goofy and not at all like what you thought the movie would be, which was like this realistic kind of grittier take on it.
I felt like it was going to be a lot more of an emotionally resonant story, and it seemed like a lot more focused on the spectacle of it, and I didn't appreciate it. But, oh well,
but that's the other thing. So like I think they wanted to go for like something more realistic, right? Like, in which case you'd think they would have focused more on like the family drama with her dad, you know, and her going to war and shit.
The emotional core
totally
of the story.
glossed over that.
Yep.
They could have focused on that part and made it more like the drama, like the characters, the acting itself, you know, but...
The only reason I know all this stuff is because I didn't watch the movie. I literally just, there's this one video I watched that literally says the entire movie beat for beat. And shows like some clips that they were allowed to show, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing this.
Did it show the matchmaker scene with the teapots?
Ah, shut up,
bruh. That is the perfect example of what I mean by like the action, like the way they filmed it does not work for me, man. It just looks so bizarre, and it looks like a Chinese bootleg, honestly.
It
like,
does look weird,
I don't know how else to describe it.
It felt like when he would show certain different clips, I would actually ask, is this from the same movie? Because they're edited completely differently. And it was really strange, man. At some point I'll watch it. I'm not gonna pay the $30, even though I know everything, but just for those people who are just like, oh no, don't fucking bash it until you watch the whole thing second for second. Fine, I'll do that, but I'm telling you, it's not gonna change my fucking opinion. I know everything that happens. I know, I've seen pretty much half the movie in clips. Like, it's even on...
Dude, I was
on
trying
Facebook,
to give it a chance, too.
And it's just like, no, it's just... the story itself, the movie itself doesn't focus on what resonated with me about Mulan. And, it's definitely a movie that they made more for the spectacle of it and the money they thought it would make, even though, ironically, maybe this will be a little sign for Disney, it botched it. It did not sell good, and it is currently the most pirated film in Disney's catalog, and the most pirated film of the year. Dude.
That's what we love to see.
I guess.
Oh my god. I mean, because it is not worth paying for, man. Like, if you like the original, you're going to hate this one. If you didn't know about the original, you're probably going to be bored with this one. It's just not good.
No, it isn't. And it's just, it's all...
I could keep ragging on, man. I didn't even say it. The thing I most hated about it is the fact that they have references to the songs from the animated version, but they don't ever actually sing the songs. They don't. Like, it is so patronizing, dude. It just, I was mad. I was pissed.
Yeah, if you're not going to do the music, don't even mention it at all. Like, don't try to be cheeky like, hey, we're still kind of pandering to the fans. No, you're not. You're just pissing us off.
Yeah. Dude, the Be a Man song, like, I think that's everyone or most people's favorite part of the movie. That literally, it was maybe the worst part of this one, because instead of like having her climbing up the pole or whatever, they have to like carry these water jugs up the mountain, and she just unlocks her ki powers, and that's how she does it. Yep.
It's like, because that's literally the Be a Man song is so beloved because not only is it fire, it is bars, all right? But the whole sequence shows the emotional and like narrative core of the film, where it's just like you at first you suck. Most of the time at anything, the first time you start, you suck. But you keep going, and you keep trying, and you do it over and over and over, and you find better ways to do it, and you reinvent, and you just go at it, and eventually you'll be able to do it. That's why at the end, she's able to carry the jugs up the mountain ahead of anyone else. She's able to beat Shen in one hand-to-hand combat. And then at the end, she's able to climb the pole. And and that's the story of Mulan. It's even when the shit...
And it's like you said, it wasn't just like... It is a woman empowerment film, but it's not just meant for women. Whereas I feel like the new one, they tried to put that message more... I don't know. It's just kind of like that 2020 mindset, I guess. I don't know how to explain it.
I mean, it's not even that, dude, because like I said, they just give her like these superpowers that undermine the whole notion of...
It doesn't make any sense.
Of just like, hey, it sucks that in this society, just because you're born a woman, all the odds are stacked against you, and it's unfair, but, Alright, the spoilers are over. You can come back now. Thank you.
It's exactly what happened with
It
Star
doesn't
Wars too.
have to
Like
be-
I'm
it-
all for having the female protagonist, but just like have her be have some growth as a character, not just be OP from the start.
It's not in some cases it's like whatever, it could be fine because I mean, quote unquote, the original story of Luke, he was pretty much OP from the start too. But it's kind of just like, I feel like the reason why it's upsetting with Mulan is because, you know, this was already an established thing. It was already established that the story was supposed to represent that idea of just like, you live in this unfair world and this unfair situation, and you cannot allow it to break you down. Instead, you have to fight in order to change that reality. You know?
Yeah.
And then when you...
No, I think those stories can work, like the OP character from the start.
Yeah,
like,
if that's the basis
but
around
that
it.
wasn't the story
Exactly,
of Mulan, though.
Mulan, exactly. They just completely bastardize it, and I think that's...
It was like one of the best like underdog stories.
Oh, yeah. In my opinion,
and
it's
just
the best.
ruined now, dude.
But oh well. But that's corporate greed, man, at work, and that brings us along to the next little corporate
Well, we'll see how it goes with the Hercules remake.
Fuck off. Fuck off. I don't even want to think about it right now. We're moving on to Marvel's Avengers.
Oh no. I mean, what can we say about that other than what you just said? It's corporate greed, man.
It is a fucking shit show, and I think we knew it was going to be a shit show from the get-go. Like,
honestly, from the first trailer I saw, like back at that E3 or whenever they announced it, maybe it might have been during the Game Awards or something, I felt like it looked very safe, like very like generic action game.
Yep.
But I had no idea that it would end up being like riddled with like a battle pass and like microtransactions and all that
they
shit.
revealed that shortly after, not too long after, and when they announced that, that was my first uh-oh moment.
Yeah.
That was when I first said, like, oh no, this is not going where it needs to go. An Avengers game does not need to be this. It does not need to be Destiny. Not every fucking game. It's like the same thing I said about the Batman game. Not every game needs to be The Witcher, and not every game needs a battle pass or a season pass. We don't need that. There are plenty of ways for you to make a game that has a lot of replay value without it having a fucking season pass. If The Witcher could do it, I mean, one of the more recent fucking Monster Hunter, dude. I've been playing Monster Hunter. I'm already at the 3,500 hour mark. It doesn't have a fucking season pass. Instead, all of their post-game content is fucking free. And it's still their best-selling game ever. It's like, you need to understand that it's not about this arbitrary kind of like little things that you get every once in a while that keep people coming. It's the essence of the game. The reason why some games that do have season pass, like Fortnite and all that stuff, are popular is because people enjoy playing it. They like the competitive nature. But
wait, is the Avengers game free?
no!
Oh, because, I mean, I was about to say, most games with battle passes are free.
free.
That's why they have it, too.
Exactly. and
Oh, God.
And-
that makes it even worse.
And then the other thing is the shit, dude. Okay, I'm about to rock your world. You think that it's a game, right? And the game itself would just have one season pass. It shouldn't have it, but if it did, it should just have one. You want to hear something shocking?
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
There's a season pass. There's a battle pass for each character.
And wait, do you have to pay for each one?
Each character.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Black Widow has one. Iron Man has one. Hulk has one. Thor has one. Captain America has one. Kamala Khan has one.
Wait, do you know if this is like you have to pay on top of the base game?
I don't know. It comes with the base game, but obviously it has that function where like, oh, if you pay for it, you could like unlock some stuff faster.
Oh.
And there's a payment for each of them, I think. And it's just bullshit, man, because it's just like, oh, if you've been playing one particular character for a while and you're locking a lot of stuff there, and then you're just like, you know what, I want to try a different one, you pretty much have to start from scratch with the next character. And it's not like it's an unlock system. It's a pretty much just like a pay for these dumbass upgrades and cosmetics, which apparently don't contribute that much at all to the gameplay, if at all. And apparently the costumes are not that good.
That's what I was about to say. From what I've seen, the final, like, the most epic costumes or the most rare or whatever, don't even look that cool.
I've seen them all. I watched a video of a guy, like, going through all of the rewards and everything you get, and I was just like, the fucking new Ultimate Alliance game looks better than this shit.
Yeah, you would think that would be, like, if they're going to focus so much on the Battle Pass and all that, you'd think that the rewards would actually be good. That's, like, what they should have made, made it worth it, but I guess not.
And apparently, I watched Cosmonauts review.
Like, they don't even got Fat Thor, man. I can't play as Fat Thor. Come on,
bro. There's like 4 bosses in the game.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
And then most of them aren't even like original characters. They're like big robots that you fight. Like supposedly, like at the start you fight Abomination, and then at the end, surprise, surprise, you fight the villain of the game at the end, which I think is MODOK. But the rest of the bosses in between are just like big robots.
Isn't the whole, like, the gameplay super repetitive, too? Like,
yep.
It's all just robots?
Yeah, it's all just run through this mission where you beat a bunch of stuff up and that's it. And apparently the combat isn't engaging enough or fun enough. Well, not even apparently. I played it for a little bit, and I got bored of it immediately. I haven't played it since.
I've only watched streamers play it, but just watching it, it kind of felt like... it sounds cliche, but it's like it doesn't feel like you're actually Thor or Hulk or whoever you're playing as. Like, it kind of feels like,
I played a little bit as Hulk and it wasn't all that interesting, but I've heard people who beat the game entirely and they say like, yeah, Hulk is like the most fucking boring character you could play as, and for a game where all you're doing is smashing things, you would think he'd be the most fun to play.
Yeah, fucking hack and smash, dude. Like, come on, that should be Thor's like playing field, but nope.
But it's just like, it really just goes to show how, for some developers, or not even that, it's usually more like the corporate people, how little understanding they have of what makes a game good, because all they care about really is what'll make them the most money, and that's it. But
it just shows, man. Like, I mean, it's not, I know we've been kind of complaining all podcasts about games,
this is
but
the complain
we've
cast.
also thrown, we've like mentioned some games that are doing it right. Like, it feels weird that we live in a time where the AAA games, the ones throwing all the money at the wall, hoping that it works, is just not, they'd never turn out like as you hope.
Yeah.
And then you have like indie games like Among Us, who probably have like a 10-man team, and they're popping off.
That's why, like, when Cyberpunk 2077 said there would be no fucking season passes or none of that shit, I was just like, thank God CD Projekt Red
man.
are still my boys. And then when Monster Hunter
Small
said they
indie
wouldn't
developer.
have any of that, no season passes and no loot boxes, I was just like, thank God. And they have stayed true to that. Dude, like, it just goes to show how far it goes to actually engage and share sentiment with your players, that Capcom literally said, like, hey, you buy the game, everything else that we add after is completely free. Same thing happened with Iceborne. This is going to be one big paid expansion. Everything you get afterwards is completely free. And not only is the community super happy about it, it is the best-selling game in Capcom's catalog of all fucking time, because not only are they not being fucking greedy about it, it's also a good fucking game.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It all comes back to fucking Reggie Fils-Aimé. If it ain't fun, why bother?
If it ain't fun, if it ain't engaging, why even bother?
That's literally it. Like, that's why you see so many, like, smaller team games. Like, Fall Guys, another good example. I mentioned already, like, Nexomon, I'm liking a lot more recently, and I don't know, I just feel like it's not all about the budget. If anything, having a big-ass budget and a big-ass team kind of ruins it, because everybody's got conflicting ideas, and you can never settle on, like, one vision for a game.
Mm-hmm. You're going to become the next big Nexomon YouTuber. I can see it now. I can see it now.
The only downside of that game is it's single player, but they might add it in the future where you can like battle other people.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the next Nexamon. My name is Nexaplier, and today we are going to
Dude,
take on.
imagine 2024 Pokemon flops and Nexomon 3 comes out and takes over.
Oh
like,
my god! Don't.
Yokai almost did it. The problem was Yokai didn't really follow up with their like sequels. They weren't as good. But so far, this is actually the second Nexomon game. The first one was a mobile game.
Oh, hello.
And yeah, they definitely improved. Like everything has better graphics, better gameplay, better story. You know, they're doing good so far. So we'll see.
That's pretty interesting to see, actually. A mobile game.
Same thing with Temtem. Like Temtem is being updated over time. You know, it's already out, but it's not a complete game yet. But if you buy it now, you know, you get the updates for free.
To be fair, I haven't heard a lot about Temtem recently.
I think just because right now it's like what we were talking about. They're just keeping it low key while working on the next big update, you know?
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. I see what you're speaking. But oh well, I mean, they have a lot of competition, man. Among Us came out, Fall Guys came out. You know, there's a lot of shit going around. Obviously, we're not as big in the loop of gaming releases and all that stuff because of the pandemic, but oh well, there's a lot of things. Recently, Xbox announced the Series S. I don't know if you heard about that.
It's like the one that looks like a boombox or a speaker.
It's funny looking, but it's like a lot cheaper. It's a little bit less powerful, but it's definitely kind of more for like the casual audience, and I feel like that's gonna win them a lot. I feel like that was a very
It'll be good for
move.
for people that can't afford like a full gaming rig, or maybe are on a budget. Like it'll definitely be good for them.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the next gen. I'm excited for what's coming this year. I'm super excited for Cyberpunk.
Dude, Cyberpunk.
I'm so excited for Cyberpunk, man. I want to figure out a way.
We got Mario next week. I know that's not the biggest announcement, but I'm pretty excited to play those Mario games again.
Never heard of the guy.
That's true. We gotta stop with this fucking Nintendo shilling, dude. It's time for a revolution.
It's time for a revolution. Sega will come back. Sega will make a comeback. Sega does what Nintendo don't, and what Nintendo don't is smart fucking gamer choices. Very smart corporate choices. I will give them that. They're establishing a great monopoly, but not smart gamer choices. They're not making epic gamer moves, and I think this is the result of Reggie Feels a Meme retiring. Quote me on that.
We need you back, Reggie.
We need you back, Reggie. Reggie, come back. I swear, Munch will suck you off. I'll diddle you from the back. It'll be great. Just come back. Come back. Come on my back, Reggie.